What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 12th Man FC. My name is Edwin Rosales Martinez. We have a huge weekend in the Premier League in store for us. This season so far has been so tight. Like there's just so much happening with all of the teams in the league. Like I said, it's super tight. There's so much to look forward to, and so much to cover. So let's get right into it. We had some EFL Cup, Carabao Cup action this week. City and Arsenal got their jobs done and moved on to the next round of that tournament, while Liverpool came crashing and burning out of the cup. So I will start off with City getting the job done against Swansea in the EFL Cup, beating them 3-1. Ahead of our top of the table clash against Bournemouth this weekend. So we have some good momentum coming into the weekend, and what is, like I said, a top of the table clash, considering that Bournemouth are currently sitting in second place in the league right now, and that is going to be a huge match for us. But super good result against Swansea midweek. It is the EFL Cup, so I was expecting a huge squad rotation just to give most of our players some rest, and that is what happened. However, Marmoush and Ryan Cherki came back onto the side and started and played the full 90 minutes, which is absolutely amazing. Kusanov as well returned back into action after being out injured for quite a while. He didn't play the full match. He got subbed off at some point. But having him back is absolutely amazing as well. He has been putting up some great performances at right back before going off injured a while ago. The defense isn't something that I'm necessarily too worried about. City right now are tied second best goal difference in the league right now with plus 10. They're tied with Tottenham on that, and then we're also tied second for goals conceded in the league as well. We've only conceded like about 7 goals in the league so far. So I'm not too worried about what's going on in the defense. I'm more so concerned with the midfield and the attacking areas, the midfield linking up into the attack to create more chances for players to score. And besides Haaland, because we all know what he could do, right? So no Haaland in the side against Swansea, which was, again, expected. He definitely needed well-deserved rest going into the weekend for sure. No Haaland. So I was very interested in seeing how City were going to fare up in attack. Where were the goals going to come from? Because before this match against Swansea, the second player with the most goals for City was a freaking Burnley player. Because when City met Burnley back in September and thrashed them 5-1, a Burnley defender scored two own goals for City. So before this EFL Cup match against Swansea, that Burnley defender had the second most goals for City. That should say a lot. And that just feeds into my worries that I probably sound like a broken record for so far in terms of, we just can't be solely relying on Haaland. So I was super interested in seeing how we were going to fare up in the attack, where the goals were going to come from. So brings me back to my point, Marmoush and Cherki back into the team, and that's such huge additions as well. We desperately needed them back because Ryan Cherki and Marmoush, they're both goal threats. They're both great attacking threats for us. Marmoush, we all saw what he did in the half season last season when he signed for us in January, how many goals he scored, how dangerous he was, and then he also won goal of the season, I believe, for last season with his absolute rocket. I forget the opponent, but you get the point. Anyway, Ryan Cherki as well, another amazing attacking player who has so much talent and skill, so much creativity and flair and just pizzazz. He scored on the opening day of the season, has been out injured pretty much ever since, and he got back onto the score sheet as well at the midweek, and so did Marmoush. So they're coming into this weekend with a lot of confidence, having scored in their first starts back into the team, and also the first 90 minutes in a very long time. So we desperately needed them back. I think they're going to add a lot of chances for the club, for the side going forward and everything, and I think that we're finally going to be able to start seeing more players coming into adding to the goal tallies for City, which is going to be great, because if teams But I mean, we saw it. We saw it last weekend against Villa. You know, if teams can find out a way to neutralize Holland, then we're screwed. We have been screwed because obviously we saw, you know, we ended up losing that match against Villa last weekend, and Holland was so quiet. He was so out of that game. He couldn't get into it whatsoever. They just had him locked up completely. So yeah, I think having Marmoush and Cherki is going to be super amazing for us. But I also wanted to kind of touch on the point too that I said in my video last week, you know, heading into last weekend's match week, about, you know, the next run of fixtures for Arsenal, Liverpool, and City going into the next international break, which is going to be November 9th. You know, I kind of predicted that City would kind of come out on top against Arsenal and Liverpool just from that time period, right? So at the time that I made this whole video, it was 3 weeks. Now it's 2 weeks or whatever. So I thought in that run of fixtures till the next international break that City could come out on top, getting 2 wins and 1 draw from the next 3 league matches. And I thought the Arsenal would probably be like a very close second best, but we unfortunately couldn't get the job done against Villa, and I will gladly take a 2 wins and 1 loss if it means that Arsenal could drop points. And I do. Going into last weekend, I was pretty confident that Arsenal could drop points either this upcoming weekend or the following weekend, because of the fact that they have 3 away fixtures in a row. So they're away to Burnley this weekend, then they have to travel in the Champions League to play against Slavia Praha, and then they're away to Sunderland in the league the following Saturday. So those are 2 very tough fixtures in the league that they have to be away for. Burnley is extremely tough opponent. They have always been a tough place to go to, especially as one of the top clubs in the league because of how well disciplined they are in their defensive shape. They will literally tire you out, you know, for a full 90 minutes with how disciplined they are, just letting you try and try and try. They will let you get yourself tired out, and then they could just explode on you in a moment's notice. And I do think that this season they have definitely been a lot more expansive and everything. So they gave Manchester United a tough match. They held Liverpool to a very, very close win. They lost against Liverpool 1-0, but you know they made it very difficult for Liverpool. They beat Sunderland, who are currently in 4th place, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Yeah, they beat Sunderland 2-0, who are currently sitting in fourth place, and they're also coming off of 2 wins in a row. So that's going to be a very difficult match for Arsenal. And then with Sunderland, the season that Sunderland are having completely is you know that calls for a really good match, and it's going to be a tough challenge for them, especially since Arsenal have to play away to Sunderland at the Stadium of Light. I think that's also another place that is very difficult for a lot of teams to go to, especially a team that's considered one of the big 6, right? Just because Sunderland's grit and everything, and with the season that they're having, like I said, that just makes it another top of the table clash. Whether or not Sunderland's going to be in the top 4 come the time that they have to play Arsenal, I don't know. But with the momentum that they got going on, you really never know what could happen. And again, with 3 away matches on the bounce coming into the the end of this run of fixtures before the international break, that's going to be very taxing. However, like I said last week when I made this theory, I was very confident that Arsenal could drop points. But now, after this week, seeing how they were able to fare in the Carabao Cup against Brighton, I'm not feeling as confident as I was before when I initially made that statement last week. And the reason for that is because of the squad depth that Arsenal have. Yes, they're going to have 3 away matches in a row, and it's going to be very taxing for the players. But the fact that they have such amazing squad depth, which was on full display against Brighton, that's just it kind of makes me worried. I do think if they are going to drop points, I see it more so happening away to Sunderland as opposed to Burnley. I think that they could, since it's the first of the 3 away matches, I think that Arsenal could come away with 3 points from Turf Moor, and I think that Sunderland could take something away from Arsenal at home. just because of the fact that they'll be traveling from the Champions League coming into that match and everything. And it's Slavia Praha in the Champions League. I don't think the Arsenal are going to go too hard for that match. But again, all of these players are going to be hopefully tired out and everything. And I don't know. I'm starting to doubt myself a little bit more with that decision. And it's mainly because of what Arsenal have built. I said it already. You look back at their match against Brighton in the EFL Cup. I think who said it best was, there's this football creator that I've been watching a lot of, is Rory Talks Football. He has multiple channels. He has another channel called Rory Talks Arsenal. He's a huge Arsenal fan. And, the leading into the Brighton match at the midweek, he compared that exact fixture in the Carabao Cup from 2 years ago. So Arsenal played Brighton 2 years ago in the Carabao Cup, the same exact matchup to this past week. And he kind of compared the lineups from Arsenal 2 years ago and the lineup coming into this Brighton match this past week, and it went to show everything that Arsenal have been through, like how far they have come with their squad, the squad depth that they have acquired. He compared the starting 11 from 2 years ago, and he took a look at the players that were on the bench and everything, and it was just like, wow, like that was a weak Arsenal side who was still competing for the first time for a league in a really long time as well. And then compared it to this past week, and it's just like, yeah, they rotated the squad, but all of the players that started against Brighton in the Carabao Cup, they could easily get into Arsenal's first team as well. So they have a strong squad depth, and they were able to rest most of their first team players. They gave most of their attacking players a nice needed rest, and then you look at their bench and it's stacked completely. You have Saka coming off the bench, Gabriel coming off the bench. You know what I mean? Like, they had amazing players coming off the bench against Brighton too, and it's just like, wow, like they have come so far. Everything that Arteta has built at that club is just absolutely phenomenal, and I don't think that any Arsenal fan should take that for granted. When Mikel Arteta came into this Arsenal team, in like 2019, the vision that he had and everything was to build that stability, to build the foundation for all of this now to be possible. So yeah, it's been 6 years in the making, but that type of stuff takes a lot of time. It doesn't just happen overnight, right? So whatever it is that he did, he made it so that in the short term we could put ourselves in the conversation of, oh snap, can they actually compete for the league? Which was the case for the past 3 seasons. They were in the title races for 3 consecutive seasons in a row, the past 3 years, right? And they have fallen short because of their squad depth, because of injuries and not having the squad to rotate players in and out during very, very taxing footballing schedules, right? So now they have it. Now they have it, and that's why I feel like they are the best. They are the best team to win the league right now. They have a stronger squad than City and Liverpool, who are considered, the other 2 teams that are going to be competing for the league this season. They have a much stronger squad depth than all of them. They don't need to rebuild the way that City and Liverpool are currently rebuilding. So yeah, although Arsenal, they're going to have a very tough week. They're going to have a very tough 7 days come the start of this weekend, because of the fact they have to play 3 away matches. They have the squad depth for it. So I genuinely don't know if they're going to drop points. I desperately want them to drop points. If they could somehow get a loss against Sunderland, and maybe it's a long shot, but maybe get a draw against Burnley, then it's in the ball's in City's court to kind of capitalize on that and everything. But I don't necessarily see that happening. If anything, I see them getting 3 points at Turf Moor. Obviously getting the job done at in the Champions League. They're not gonna. I don't think that they're gonna lose against Slavia Praha, and then at most getting a draw from the Stadium of Light. So, yeah, big up to Arsenal on that one. But yeah, then let's move on to Liverpool now, who are things have just gotten from bad to worse, and I don't know if it's necessarily time for everyone to be saying, or Liverpool fans to be saying, slot out, right? So yeah, they crashed out of the Carabao Cup against Crystal Palace, losing 3-0, and the squad that Liverpool put out for that match was an absolute joke. An absolute joke. I personally think after the match and hearing what he had to say in the press conference and everything like that, like I genuinely believe that Arne Slot threw that match against Crystal Palace. I genuinely believe that. And look, for all you Liverpool fans that are saying, oh, why are you throwing this game like it's still a trophy? Let's priorities, please, priorities. If I don't think if I were to ask 100 Liverpool fans, if I were to ask them, would you rather, started a strong squad in the Carabao Cup against Crystal Palace, picked up the 3 points, and then have those players like tired and not necessarily up for it, physically up for it, against a very tough Villa opponent right now who are in an amazing form? Would you risk trying to keep up in the league just to advance to the quarterfinals of the EFL Cup? I don't think any Liverpool fan would choose that. I would think that if they were to prioritize, if they could actually genuinely see Liverpool figuring all their issues out, come the end of the first half of this season and actually putting in a strong title contention for the rest of the season, I don't think that they would take winning in the EFL Cup. I genuinely don't. And to further that point, I'll put it up here on the screen next to me. Since Crystal Palace have won that match, their next EFL match, the quarterfinal, is going to be against Arsenal on December 16th. So let's look at their December schedule now. Starting December 6th. December 11th. Starting December 11th, right? In the Conference League away to Shelbourne. 3 days later, hosting Man City in the league. 2 days later, the EFL Cup quarterfinals match against Arsenal, December 16th. 2 days after that, another Conference League match, hosting KUPS. I've never heard of that team. And then 3 days after that, in the league, away to Leeds United. From December 11th to December 18th, they have 4 matches. 4 matches in 7 days. If you want to expand that to December 21st, that's 5 matches in 10 days. Because of that EFL Cup match. That is fucking insane. That is literally insane. Now let's look at Liverpool's schedule in that time frame as well. In that time frame, I'll start it December 6th. I do have it up on the screen, but I'm looking at my computer right now. Starting December 6th, you could even start at December 3rd if you want. Let's start at December 3rd. Let's look at their December schedule as a whole. Hosting Sunderland in the league, December 3rd. 3 days later, away to Leeds United in the league. 3 days after that, away to Inter Milan in the Champions League. 4 days after that, hosting Brighton in the league. Then, if they had won that EFL Cup match, 3 days later against Arsenal. To only then 4 days later have to go away to Spurs in the league. Would you really want that EFL Cup match, in the middle of all that? In the middle of that congested-ass December schedule? Especially considering the run of form that Liverpool are in right now. Do you really think that Liverpool fans would want to add more strain to players that are struggling for form right now? I don't think so. I genuinely don't think so. So, for all you Liverpool fans that are angry and everything, look, if I'm being completely honest with you, I think coming out of the EFL Cup is probably a blessing in disguise. I genuinely think it is. So, So yeah, which kind of brings me on to the next point for everyone that's saying slot out. I think it's pretty unnecessary. I genuinely don't think that the consideration of getting rid of Arne Slot should be had unless I don't know. I kind of think of Jose Mourinho's case when he was last at Chelsea in the 2015-16 season when he got sacked. He got sacked what in like December, close to Christmas. But Chelsea were like in the set, like the bottom half of the table. So I genuinely, although yes, if Liverpool don't get the win against Villa this upcoming weekend, and Villa, like I said, are in amazing form. They've got 6 wins in their last 8 matches, with the remaining two being one loss and one draw. I think Liverpool, Villa are definitely going to be up for that match against Liverpool, especially coming off of a win against Man City. So yeah, if Liverpool aren't able to get the job done against Villa, then they have Real Madrid in the Champions League, the following Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever the day is. And then having to play, who was it? And then having to play City November 9th, the following weekend. Then, yeah, it's a tough run of 3 games for Liverpool. So I don't genuinely think that there's going to be a slot out conversation until we're in December and Liverpool by some freak of nature incident or whatever, Liverpool find themselves, maybe like between 13th and 16th, which I really don't see happening. I really don't see that happening. So yeah, I don't think that there's going to be any actual entertainment from Liverpool's side of sacking Slot unless they find themselves in a situation that Jose Mourinho was in when he was sacked by Chelsea, and that was because Chelsea were so close to the bottom of the table come Christmas, and there's just like at that point you have to get rid of Jose Mourinho, and mind you, Jose Mourinho had won the league with Chelsea the season prior to that. So unless Slot finds himself with Liverpool towards the bottom of the table come Christmas, I think that he has job security. So yeah. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Hit that like button, hit the notification bell, subscribe. Please let me know if there's anything that I could do better for my content and everything like that. Because I am, growing. I'm a growing content creator. I want to definitely be a powerhouse in this type of industry and everything. So if there's anything that I could do better, guys, please let me know. Anything that you're interested in hearing on or me talking on, let me know as well. I'll catch you guys on the next one.